Hello, my friends. This is Steve, the traveling chef, coming to you today on a beautiful Sunday afternoon in Tulsa, Oklahoma. Today, as you can see, I have no chef hat on and I have no chef jacket on. I'm just speaking to you after a morning in the kitchen. A few videos ago, I had a video on creations of recipes, and some of them are creations from good, well-known chefs, and some of them are AI computer generated recipes, which may or may not be good. So it's always trial and error. Well, a lot of the recipes I do are my own creations. I also like to take 2 or 3 creations, tie them together, and do what they call a fusion into a brand new creation. And again, sometimes it's a hit, sometimes it's a miss. I compare it to baseball, where you may get a home run or a grand slam, or you might get a strikeout. So some days I have home runs and grand slams, and some days I have strikeouts. This morning was a little bit of both. I made a blueberry scone using a recipe I haven't tried before. I looked at it. It looked good. It looked like it would be tasty. And presentation-wise, it looked really nice. So I made it. It didn't come out exactly the way I wanted it to. The taste was decent. The presentation was decent. It didn't rise as much as I wanted it to. And I fluffed it up and made it look as pretty as I could. But again, I wasn't totally happy with it. So what I'd like you to do is stay to the end of this video, which isn't that long. And at the end of this video, I'll show you my finished product, and I'll show you and tell you what I think I would have done differently to make it better after comparing some other recipes, other presentations, and other finished products. So hang tight, stay till the end, watch my product, and then we'll go ahead and tell you what we could have done differently to make it better. Ciao. Well, good morning, friends. This is Steve, the traveling chef, with you. And it's a weekend, so what we're going to do, we're going to do what I love to do, which is we're going to cook again. Today, we're going to do a breakfast treat. I know usually we do a lot of dessert items and main course items, but today we're going to do a breakfast item. Today, we're making a blueberry buttery cream scone, and it's going to be filled with a mascarpone cream filling. So let's get right to it. Time is ticking away this morning. In front of you, you see we have fresh blueberries. They've all been washed, and we've had the stems taken off of them as well. So they'll all be nice and fresh, and no dirt and no stems to deal with. And here we're going to mix our dry ingredients. Here we're going to put 2 cups of all-purpose flour. Now there's a lot of different flours that have different magic capabilities. For each one of them, whether it's pizza or bread or Danish, this is all-purpose flour. And then we're going to use 1/3 of a cup of granulated sugar, 1 tablespoon of baking powder, and a 1/2 teaspoon of salt. With a whisk, we're going to mix all of that together. Once I put the butter in here, we're going to take a pastry cutter, which is what this is, and we're going to mix that butter until it forms a smooth crumble. Okay, next we have a separate bowl. What we're going to do now is we're going to take 1 cup of good quality heavy whipping cream. And we're going to crack 1 egg. And we're going to put 1 teaspoon of good vanilla. Now again, this is pure vanilla extract. So again, the better the quality products you have going in, the better quality products you'll have at the end. And we put 1 teaspoon of vanilla in there. And then we're going to whisk. Basically, we want to break that whole egg up. And again, you could break it up in a separate bowl if you're worried about eggshells, and mix the egg up. And then we want to combine that with the vanilla and the cream. And you'll see it'll have a dark white color when you're finished due to the vanilla extract, which as you can see is very dark. So we're going to mix that. And then we're done with that process. Okay, now we're going to take the dry ingredients that we had earlier, and we're going to slowly and gently stir that into the cream. Okay, now we're going to take 1 cup of fresh blueberries. I do have a blueberry plant growing in my garden. If you follow my channel before, you'll see I have fresh raspberries and blackberries, and I just started blueberries, so hopefully next year I'll have my own blueberries. Now this is somewhat of a tricky part. The dough is a little bit stiff, and we want to fold in the blueberries without crushing them too much. Again, you're going to have some crushed blueberries, but we want to try to not crush them all. And again, with the heat in the oven, some of them are going to burst anyway. I'll continue to mix this, and I'll come back to you in a couple minutes. Okay, I moved over to the flour surface now. So what we're going to do, we're going to take our mixture here with our blueberries, and we're going to knead this 2 to 3 times. As I said earlier, we want to knead, but we don't want to over mix due to the gluten. So we're going to just mix it just enough. Now, kneading is basically we're going to spread out the dough, fold it over. And at this time, too, we're also incorporating the blueberries more so into the batter. Okay, now it's time to roll out the dough. I'm going to take a rolling pin here and lightly dust it so it doesn't stick to the rolling pin. We want the dough to be about 1 inch thick. And then we're going to cut it into squares or triangles or circles. It's your choice. Again, the dough is a little bit wet. First it was a little dry, now it's a little bit wet. But we'll get it there. Again, we don't want the dough too wet because it will stick to the rolling pin, even though I've got flour on it.
Okay.
A few moments later.
Okay, we've rolled them all out. So we have 3, 6, 8, and I have about 4 more in the back. So this recipe makes about 12 scones. Now that it's all rolled out into about a 1 inch thickness, we're going to brush the top of them with heavy cream. Okay, the scones are in the oven. It'll take about 15 to 18 minutes. And again, remember, every oven's different. And if you open up the door, that can make a change as well. So we want them to be golden brown. So again, we're going to be checking at 15 minutes, but it shouldn't take longer than 18 minutes. So now what we're going to do is we're going to make the cream to go into or on top of the scones. So what we have here is we have a half a cup of mascarpone Italian cream. I know that sounds weird, putting Italian cheese into an English pastry, but again, this is a fusion of the two. And we have 2 tablespoons of powdered sugar. And we have 1 teaspoon of lemon zest. I put a little bit more because lemons and blueberries go really well with each other. And then what we're going to do is we're going to cream this together. Now again, as we're doing this, the scones are in the oven. When the scones come out, we're going to let the scones cool down just a little bit, because if you take something that comes out of a 400-degree oven and you put icing on it, it's just going to run right off the top. So we want the scones to be warm, but we don't want them to be 400-degree hot. Okay, so now that you have seen the finished product, I'm going to go ahead and critique myself. As I said, sometimes the projects I do come out great, sometimes not so great. Today came out okay. I think I could have done better. So let's go ahead and critique what I did wrong and what I did right and what I could have done better. I'm going to revert back to my notes here that I took during the process so I don't miss anything. My recipe called for a temperature of 400 degrees for about 13 to 16 minutes. I didn't really like that temperature, and after comparing some other recipes called for temperatures of 350 instead of 400, with times up to 25 to 30 minutes. So I think I would probably try a lower temperature and a little bit extra time, another 12 to 15 more minutes at a lower temperature might have given me a little bit more color and a little bit more rise to my scone. Before I cooked it, my recipe called for brushing with heavy whipping cream and then granulated sugar before putting it into the oven. Several other recipes, more so than mine, called for brushing melted butter on top with granulated sugar. I don't really think the butter or the cream, since it's almost the same thing, butter's just heavy whipped cream that, so obviously the cream turns into a butter, but it may have given it a little bit more of a shine than what I had. So I would have probably tried that as well. As you'll see, I made rounds like a typical biscuit would be, but I know a lot of people will cut scones into triangles, and by cutting it into a triangle like a slice of pizza, all the pieces are a little bit more closely connected to each other with just a little bit of a gap. So it kind of helps build a wall next to each other as it's rising instead of so much space around each circle like I had. So again, I think that would have helped as well. Most of the scones I've had in the past were a little bit sweeter than mine. The batter itself and the biscuit itself tasted sweet, but as you can see, the recipe I use only called to garnish with some powdered sugar on the top. Other recipes, they use heavy whipping cream and powdered sugar, which gives you a glaze, the same glaze that you would get a Krispy Kreme donut on a glazed donut. We all know how sweet that could be. So again, that is another option too. Other people will put a cream cheese icing on there too, with a little bit of a caramel flavoring or a lemon flavoring or cinnamon flavoring. So again, those are other options which I could have used as well, and I will probably do so next time. And again, we can get nitty gritty with the details, but some of the other recipes had a little bit more sugar in the batter and a little bit more egg in the batter than what I had too. So again, all recipes, you can find 100 recipes for one item. I always achieve and search for the best recipe of anything I can. So again, sometimes we're going to have hits, sometimes we're going to have misses. So again, that's what I would do. So that is today's journey on blueberry scones. And if you haven't already, we'd appreciate it if you would subscribe. I'm a new channel. I've only been around for just over 30 days. We have over 15,000 views on our website, on YouTube. So things are going pretty good, but I would like to pick up more subscribers and more likes. So if you don't mind, go ahead and hit that subscribe and like button and show us some love. And stay tuned, because I am putting out about 2 to 3 videos a week. And in the next 6 months, we have a couple of cruises coming up. They are foodie cruises. So each of these cruise ships have over 20 gourmet restaurants. And it's going to be my challenge on each cruise to try all 20 restaurants and to do a video on each and every one of them. And again, these are higher end cruises where the food is super, super good and creative. And we're also going to be doing some videos where we stop off on land, for example, in Valencia, Spain, and in Barcelona, Spain. So again, stick with us on our journey and keep following us, and we will send more videos to you in the future. And for now, that's all I got. Y'all have a great weekend. Ciao.